Welcome to the Thebobbycoutoshow, where we dive into the fascinating world of human experiences and excellence. With special guests, real-life anecdotes, and thought-provoking discussions. Get ready to unlock and tap into your absolute potential with your host, manifestation coach, Bobby Couto.
Nicole Gardner, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. I want to say thank you very much for making it out here. It's not easy to make it out here on a Saturday morning when the sun is shining. It's like 80 degrees outside and we're locked up in the studio, but I am absolutely grateful that you're here and appreciate this opportunity to tap into your brain and in your journey.
Absolutely.
Cool.
This is a thrill for me to be on the show and do something way outside of my comfort zone in life.
Really? You know, and that surprises me that you say that because I know you in a professional environment where we work together. And so I see you in that realm and I never see you flinch, you know. So you're always making decisions. You're a leader. You're leading the team. And not only that, you're providing a service to people that are typically not in their best form, right? You know, and able to provide them with some time of comfort and at least information, right? And
yeah, absolutely. It's different. I mean, my performance background kind of comes from my singing and stuff that we grew up with, but it's talking about it is totally different than going up on a stage and singing in front of hundreds of people.
Yeah.
Talking about my life and, you know, my experiences, you know, just is different.
So when you talk about singing, are you referring to like the choral club?
But singing in general.
I'll tell you, you mentioned that to me. We talked beforehand and you said the choral club. And I'm like, the choral club. Is that like fish coral, like in the ocean? And so, of course, I Google it and I realize it's choirs, right? It's choir. And so then my next question is, well, is this religion-based, right? And then the answer is no. It's many religions. It's an art. And I never, so here, of course, next I press play and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. This is incredible dynamic. And so just for the record, I'm an energy person. And if anybody's listening to the show, they're 83 episodes in and they know that I'm an energy person and frequency is very, very important. And what actually got me was the amount of frequencies that are taking place all at once. So until you mentioned it, like the funny things we learn in life and explore, can you explain to us, to the audience, how you even get involved in something like that? How does that even come about?
I was honestly doing a Google search. So I mean, I've been working with working with a therapist that's helped me a lot through my life and life experiences. And one of the things we were working on really was to branch out and do something outside of work, something that I love to do and just really enjoy and have always been a part of my life. Music's always been a part of my life. Okay. So I said, let me go and look online and see what choral societies are out there and see if I can join a local choir.
So as a child, you were singing in the choir. So obviously you didn't just come out of the blue. Like there's actually some history here.
I was singing before I could talk.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And so and who introduced that to you?
So my mom played the piano.
Okay.
And she could play by ear and she played the harmonica, all music by ear.
Yeah.
She learned by ear.
Me too.
So, and that was a gift that I kind of got from her. She couldn't sing worth anything, but I could sing and she could play the piano and the harmonica.
Perfect.
So we did lots of little things and stuff together.
She didn't have to know how to sing because she had you to sing.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. I got the singing voice. So, so I just grew up always doing that. And I'm half Polish. So singing, dancing to polka and, just having like that bond with music at a very young age.
Brothers and sisters or?
Nope. Only child.
Only child.
So I needed something else outside of, my immediate family to help kind of get me excited in life and wanting to go and do things. Yeah. And music was always that gateway for me.
So is it about how it used to make you feel, like that moment with your mom? So your mom, is she still with us?
She passed, unfortunately, about 11 years ago.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And that also helped me change. And, and doing music, she always said to me, she's like, never give up music. Even though I chose healthcare for my, industry of working.
You got to make money. Like there's careers, but that doesn't mean.
But don't give up music.
Exactly. Yes.
And I did for a while. After her passing, I was kind of lost. And I enjoyed music and I still liked music, but I wasn't as involved with it. I wasn't singing my choral pieces and opera songs and stuff like that. I wasn't playing the piano anymore and wasn't reading music for about 10 years. It really took me a while to really get comfortable.
So
again.
How old were you?
I was 20.
20. Oh, that's some formidable ages. That's
right.
Typically when
I mean,
Yeah,
that's at the crux of my life. I was in my senior year of college.
Yeah. Was that something unexpected, or did you?
She was sick for about 4 years. She had cancer, and she fought for as long as she could. They gave her 6 months. She lived 4 years. She was the most positive person. And I'm not just saying because she was my mother, but she was one of the most positive people in life. The minute she got the diagnosis, she comes home, and she's a radiation therapist. Was a radiation therapist.
So none of this is a surprise to her.
So she knew more than anyone exactly what to expect with getting this cancer diagnosis and the treatments and, options available for her. And she comes home and she's like, I have 12 things that I already want to do. She was like, I want to go to this doctor. I want this treatment. And then when that fails, I want to go to this treatment. And she basically created her whole radiation plan and did all of that. And it held on for a while. It did work. Yeah. The chemo and the radiation. I mean, she was very sick through the whole process, but, lost her hair, and that's a whole nother thing. And she had to buy a wig, and it's very hard. And for me as a young child, and I was 16 when she was diagnosed. So for me, I'm in high school, and my mom's losing her hair. Like, how am I supposed to deal with the rest of my life when my mom's so sick?
Right.
But she was able to see me graduate high school, at least, not college, but she was there spiritually for sure that year.
Well, she's still with you now.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And I totally believe in afterlife and all of that. Like, I get so many signs from her on a regular basis, and just little things that pop up, So, it's music, like I said, has always been a huge part of my life.
So you're 20.
Yeah.
So you're 20.
Yep.
You decide, I'm not going to, I don't want to sing. I'm with you right now. I'm actually with you. And I'm saying to myself, I wouldn't want any of that either, because it's a reminder, right?
Correct.
It's a reminder of the one thing that meant most to me that I don't have anymore. And
Right.
so how long before you realize, you know what, I want to sing again?
About 8 years.
So 28. So here you are, 28. So do you meet your husband yet, or?
Yes. Oh, I was with him since I was 19.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So yes, he was part of me through the whole journey. Met my mom.
Good for you, my man.
For the
This is
first
studio. Welcome to the show, buddy.
for the first 6 months or to a year of being together, he was able to meet my mom, and that was something special to me.
That's great. That's wonderful.
So, and not that it was a requirement by any means in my eyes of meeting a guy and whatever, but it does mean a lot that he got to meet her, even if it was for a short time, and get to know her a little bit.
Of course.
So to get to know me,
Right.
Right. And when she passed, he was in college too. He dropped everything and just didn't go to class, was there for me for the first week, and we had just started dating. I mean, I barely knew him.
Right. And you're trying to understand this, right? Like,
Right.
This is
a huge...
And I think in everybody's mind, I don't think anybody ever thinks that there's an end, right? Like, I mean, we hear a diagnosis and we think to ourselves, you know what, we can get through this. Like,
Right.
I think that has to be the mindset. I think that's where you have to be, not only emotionally, but in physically. Like, you have to want to win. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that your mom would have lasted 4 years if she didn't have that desire and will
Correct.
to want to be here, And so I guess the point I'm trying to get to is that what it takes? Does it take a moment where you're presented with a decision that you can't make? Like, there's no like, okay, I want this cancer or I don't want this cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, here you go, here it is. Do you realize, oh wow, I got to change my life?
I think it did. I mean, it was a pivotal moment for my parents. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
Because my entire childhood, they fought. They had a very rough marriage.
And so was Dad there when the diagnosis?
Yes.
Okay,
They were
all right.
still living together in the
Sure,
same
sure,
house, but they were actually going through the papers for separation.
Oh, that's tough. Yeah.
So it was
like a double whammy.
it was like a crux, right? And then she gets this stage 4 diagnosis of colorectal cancer. And it's like, what are you supposed to do? You're not going to fight anymore. You like with your spouse. Like, my dad totally changed his whole tune and attitude and was there for her and nice to her. And,
Oh, wow.
and it was just a different side of my father I've never seen.
Wow.
So
Wow.
in a good way.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
it takes it does take
Would
something.
you say that I mean, kind of reading a couple of different things here, but would you say that you earned a lot of respect for your dad, that there was a lot that came out of that for your dad, or?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
I mean, I was never really close with my dad. I was close with my mom. She raised me. My dad worked all the time as a child. When I was a child, they owned a business, so he was gone all the time.
Busy.
So my mom raised me pretty much. She
Yeah.
picked me up from daycare, dropped me off at daycare, dropped me off at school, picked me up at school. That was the person that mainly took care of me. I did everything with her. Yeah. So when my mom got sick, I was like, oh my God, I have to maybe just live with my dad. Like, I was like, how am I going to do that?
Right.
For 16 years, my mom's been taking care of me. And I have very little relationship with my dad. Not that it was a bad relationship, just it was challenging when I was a child, for sure. Little bit of abuse that shaped me in a different way.
Sure.
So it was like, now I'm, many years later, and I'm faced with the fact that my mom, my best friend, is going to die.
Right.
And
it's heavy. Yeah,
and I'm
it's so
still
heavy.
in high school. I'm still trying to figure out my life.
Yeah, you have no business like dealing with these kind of decisions.
And what I want to do,
Right.
I'm trying to decide on colleges, trying to take the SATs. I wasn't ever thinking that would ever happen. But I truly, firmly believe in life that everything happens for a reason.
Sure.
And, obviously it's a little easier for me to say that now, years later, than when it was presented to me when I was 16. But, if I could look back on my 16-year-old self, it would be to just take it as it is and really try to live life to the fullest every moment. And that's easier said than done.
Do you think you've done that?
I have more to do. I have much more to do. I've come a long way. And being part of the Choral Society, and now I'm on the board. I'm actually the VP on the board.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
That's the Choral Society, and they absolutely love me. They love my bundle of energy. And so that's what I want to do.
I see it.
I
see it. You're all in. You're all in.
I would love to be able just to drop everything and do that full time. Obviously, I'm volunteering my time, so it wouldn't be financially would not make sense for me. But at some point in my life, like retire and do that. Like a lot of the people that are there are retired music teachers and stuff like that. So, but there's a lot more young people that are coming.
How many
in
people?
now.
How many people?
We have about I'd say about 90 members that are like committed to us.
Wow.
So it ebbs and flows depending on the years, and not everybody participates.
It's hard to get 90 people in a room all at the same time.
Exactly. Like our concert in December, we had over 100 people. We had 110.
Wow.
Just because of the pieces that we
listen,
were doing.
when concerts, you got to let me know, and then we'll blast it on the Thebobbycoutoshow. We'll throw it out there.
I do want to mention. So my next concert is Monday, May 11th. It is on Mother's Day. It's next Sunday.
All right.
At 4 p.m. at St. Mary's of the Hill Church in Milton.
Okay. All right.
And it's all about America.
Is there a website people could?
Yes, QuincyChoralSociety.org.
Okay. All right. Is there an
And
Instagram?
we have Instagram and we have Facebook as well.
All right. Great.
And all the information for the
It's
concert
usually the best
is
place
there.
for people to get directions.
Easiest thing to do. Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. And so I want to talk a little bit about that, but I just I kind of see, I want to lead you into something here, and I just kind of see a pattern, and I want to see if I'm right or if I'm wrong. So your mom is diagnosed with this terrible disease, this terrible illness, and you're in the midst of college and figuring out, hey, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? So was it a coincidence that you decided to go into imaging?
Even before my mom was diagnosed, I knew I wanted to do healthcare.
But she was
because she was in healthcare,
doing imaging.
And a lot of my mom's sisters and my family members were all in healthcare. And I saw the difference that they made and the impacts and everything. And I heard their experiences and life stories. So I already knew that I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
But I also really wanted to do music too. And so I was at a crossroads. It's like, what do you do? Do you put your life and go? And I probably could have tried out for Berkeley. I probably would have gotten in, or maybe gone into another music school, less competitive. And I could have gone that road. But would I be where I am now financially?
No.
Probably not.
Right.
So I had to make that decision.
Okay. All right. So outside of the financial, there's a lot of information that you're on the forefront of right now, right?
Yes.
So I think without disclosing anything with any companies or anything, I am absolutely fascinated with technology and with AI, and you and I talk often because of the technology you're involved in, which is MRI, and that merge of MRI technology and artificial intelligence and how that all combines. And when you really research the stuff and you really look at what's really happening, the idea that when someone had to be trapped in this machine, this loud machine for 45 minutes, and now they're literally like 5 to 8 minutes, they're in and out. And not only that, the information that this MRI is capturing is a million times more detailed and more robust than anything we've ever seen before. And you're working on the latest, greatest, most technologically advanced MRIs to date. Can you just talk to us a little bit about that? I mean,
Yeah.
and because you were there before and you're after.
Correct.
How do you see what's the difference? Like even in, because I know MRI, and I want to let you talk, but I'm just, I got all these ideas and I want you to.
Yeah.
I remember MRI being unnecessary. Like, hey, listen, you're gonna go for an X-ray first, and if the X-ray shows this, then you go for an MRI. Where I think now MRIs have become, hey, listen, we can just do something that's, a pre-image. We don't have to wait for you to have a cancer diagnosis. We can just kind of, we can get in there and now it's available to people, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So yeah, back in 2018 is when I was really introduced to AI. I learned MRI and was scanning already before that. So to see where we started from.
I'm sorry, what year was that?
2018.
Okay, 18. All right.
Was when
okay.
AI
right.
was introduced
I
to
just
me
want like the timeline just
in my field.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like 2016 is when I was starting to really scan and stuff like that, 2017. So I was able to see the technology where it was when I started. Now to see where it comes in with AI. And, I had my suspicions, with everything with AI in the world. And
Sure.
you say, oh, my God, is it going to come and take over? You had no idea what it was going to do. And when they introduced it to me, it's called deep learning. That's what it's called in the imaging field with AI.
Okay.
And it's basically taking the image and giving it more signal. Like you said, we get better quality images in less time. Very rarely in life do you even get those two combinations,
Right.
let alone in healthcare and
Right.
treating people.
Giving less, getting more, right?
Correct.
Never does that happen.
Never does that
right.
happen.
Right.
And we were seeing that firsthand. And as you mentioned, we had scans that were 20 minutes. They went down to 5 minutes.
Wow.
And the images were 10 times better in quality. And they weren't photoshopped, and they weren't like, everything was like a natural way of processing the images.
Yeah.
That wasn't really taking away from the natural data that was there. And it was just, it's fantastic. And now it's getting even faster.
Yeah.
Like they have different layers and stuff like that. And it's just, I felt really fortunate to be part of it at such a forefront.
Right.
And then to get Employee of the Year Innovation Award
That's crazy. Congratulations.
for that
Congratulations.
was
That was
just
amazing.
really solidified
Yeah.
why I was doing what I was doing.
Right.
And what difference that I'm making in the healthcare field, which is exactly why I went into healthcare. And for patients, like improving patients. Like, no, we're not treating them, but we're helping them in their journey for treatment.
Absolutely.
So, selfishly, I say that we're more important than the people that actually treat them, like the doctors and stuff like that, because we're getting them to those areas.
Right.
We're getting them to
You're
that.
creating the roadmap. You're creating,
And
right.
without us, they wouldn't have that.
Right. Right.
So you need to have both.
Right.
So, and it's awesome. It's just absolutely fantastic. But it's that balance, right? You can go faster and get great images. You can't take the human out of it.
Right.
You can't just like put everybody in a wheelchair and be like, okay, here we go, wheeling you in. We're going to hoist you up onto the table like a robot.
Right.
You can't do that.
Well, yeah, because I don't think you can compromise the patient experience. I think no matter how you look at it, I think you can get caught up in how quick this is. Like, so get in, get out, and most people would be like, yeah, I want to get in and out of there as quickly as possible. I don't want to be in this machine. I think 90% of people are claustrophobic as opposed to the 10% that are not. You know what I mean? They're like, I'll sit here all day long. Just leave me here.
Yep.
But with that said, if we continue to increase the speed at which the scans can be done, do you think at some point, like, we walk in a room and like just do it ourselves? Like, do you think that the human intervention here becomes less and less and less? I mean, I'm not to say that that's exactly what's going to happen, but you almost think to yourself, it's almost gotten to that point where the AI, the technology, like, so for example, and this is something I don't want people to think I'm going left field with this, but if say, for example, at my age, I think it's probably a good idea to get checked for prostate, like, right? Because that's the number one killer for men my age. So if I could walk into a facility and literally in 5 minutes, like, it would take me longer to have blood drawn. I can go in and have an image done and be like, hey, Bobby, you're good to go. You're all set. We don't need to give you a colonoscopy for a day and a half. You can just walk in, get scanned, and walk out. That's not too far-fetched, right?
I don't think so, because as it is right now, we have remote scanning. So we have people that are
That's a really good point. That's a really good point.
They are
yeah,
at
right,
home
right,
in their
right.
pajamas, controlling 2 or 3 scanners at a
That's
time.
amazing. That's amazing.
So, and the patient doesn't even know that there's a virtual person doing their scan.
Wow.
They have a person on site that's guiding the patient in and everything like that, but the technologist is at home.
Yeah, but Nicole, why would it be any different, right? Because I can actually go get surgery, and my doctor could be in Scotland, right, with VR, and he's controlling this equipment, and they're doing surgery on me from a world away. Why would it be any different, right?
But as I mentioned before, it's that patient interaction in healthcare for me and why I went into it. So having more people do it remotely and stuff kind of takes that away from me.
So what would you change?
I would hope that we could use AI in a way where it's a learning tool. It helps people accelerate their knowledge of things and have somebody that comes on, like if you need help, like a chat almost, like a help button, like online.
Okay.
Where you can press it on the scanner and it pops up and is like helping you face-to-face, video interaction, helping you solve the problem, remote, like they can remote into your scanner, which we already have. I have access to all my scanners remotely.
Sure.
So be able to have that one-on-one interaction versus having them be at home, teach them, use the technology and teach the people that are there. And, you know, maybe you don't need as many technologists. Maybe you can get away with just having one person on each machine.
Right.
And then you have another person that sits in another room and helps troubleshoot all those machines.
Right. Well, and I think on the other end of that is like a mammography, right? Going in for a mammo. I think the MRI experience is less intrusive, let's say, as going into like a hologic, you know, uncomfortable. So when I think of those situations, I say to myself, well, the less people there, the better, right? Because I don't want to feel uncomfortable. So it's almost like you have two sides of that. And not to beat that drum, how about the other side of it? And the other side of that is the read. Okay.
Yeah.
So I know that this is kind of a point of contention, and you know, people will say, "Well, I want a human being to read that. I want human eyes on that." And I'm like, you know what? My first thought of that was exactly. I'm like, well, I'd rather have a doctor look at that. But then I did the research, right? And you look, and it says, you know, right now there is no intention to remove the human from the read. The idea is that using AI to just confirm or the anomaly. Right, so the human eye can only identify so many things. Right, we are limited because we are human.
Right,
and so the AI has the ability to see things and just see patterns and determine and say, hey, listen, this is something that potentially could be a problem down the road where the human eye doesn't see that. Do you ever see that shift taking place where now maybe the human is looking out for the AI as opposed for the AI looking out for the human?
It's already happening.
All right.
They already have programs out there that help them identify different things, and they press buttons.
I want to know.
Highlights.
Nicole, I want to know. Like, people will argue and be like, I don't want, I want it. I want to know. I want to know.
I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's
a
great way to help the radiologist, again, as a learning tool.
Why wouldn't you want it?
Why wouldn't you want to have something to help
Seriously.
you?
Right.
I mean, you carry all this liability being a doctor as it is. Why wouldn't you want something else that can help you identify that?
Yeah.
You know, I can see the old timers probably being very resistant to it, but I think the majority of the radiologists that are coming into the field are young and they've been in the technology field and they've been in that generation growing up. So I feel like a lot of them are more receptive to that.
Do you know there was a time people didn't want seatbelts in their cars? Do you know that, right? There was
Correct.
people resisted seatbelts in their cars.
Right.
And so this is no different. You know, I think people are just caught up in what was and how it used to be, as opposed to realizing that, hey, wait a minute, look, if we're going to leverage the silicon, if we're going to create this amazing equipment, then we need to power it with the most intelligent software possible. And if it's AI, and if it gives us an ability to live longer, that's the goal, right? That's the right. Like, you know, and maybe it's not the 80-year-old person. What if it's the 2-year-old child, right? Like, this is what we're talking about here. We're literally talking about saving lives. And
I mean, look at how far in advancements we've come with whole body imaging. People pay thousands and thousands of dollars to go and just get body scanned and make sure they don't have anything wrong with them. Do you know the percentage of people that actually have diseases and stuff that they would have never known?
So what you're saying, like going in for like a knee and then realizing there's something else in there? You mean like a...
No, like they literally, we scan you top to bottom, head to toe.
Wow.
We scan every body part.
Wow.
In like a one-shot type deal.
I could see that. Even if I'm an athlete, right? If I'm an athlete and I have an insurance policy and they're gonna pay me $300 million to play this sport. I think a body scan is appropriate, like, right? To
Absolutely.
just identify any, because I want to protect my investment, right?
Right.
I could see that. But then, well, what's the other one? Is it vain to be like, hey, I'm rich and I'm filthy rich and I can do this just to have it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where it is right now. It's very poshy, and it's very, they don't want it to be in a healthcare setting, and it's very.
All right,
health
like spa-ish.
Exactly,
like
because
spa-ish.
health insurance does not support this right now, so everything's out of pocket.
Yeah, but even doctors, though, they're going a la carte. A lot of these doctors are going a la carte now because the insurance companies they're not paying out, and the rates aren't paying out, and people don't have the money to pay what they're looking for. To me, I think it's a great idea. You know what else is a great idea? IVs. I love these IV clinics.
Really?
Yeah, you can walk into an IV clinic and be like, listen, I drank too much last night. Just pump me up. I know, and I hate needles, but IVs, like I tell you, the few times that I was sick and had to go to like the hospital and have an IV, I always remember that sense of like, oh my God, this feels so good right now. That coolness of going through your veins, which brings me to my next point, kind of leading in over here.
Yeah.
People are concerned a lot with Gatto, right? And so, and me personally, I was concerned with Gatto because enough so that I was researching it for my own purposes. And I know that there are some arguments about Gatto and some of the effects of that long term. And does your body actually remove it, or is it something that just stays with you forever? Can you speak to that?
I can.
Oh, cool.
So it's risk versus benefit. That's how healthcare works, and that's how I look at everything when it comes to healthcare, especially with contrast. I had a brain scan, and they saw something, and they were like, "You need to come back with contrast," and I was like, I don't want contrast. I just don't want it. Did I have a reason? No, not really. I just didn't want anything in my body that really didn't need to be in my body. But I knew from, my experience that I needed the contrast to make sure that what they found.
Amazing. What you showed me the other day. That was amazing. The difference.
Yeah. Wasn't anything that, wasn't anything troublesome. So I said, okay. So I ended up getting the contrast and I was fine. If it stays in my body, it stays in my body. The way I look at it is you go to the pharmacy, right? You get a prescription that your doctor prescribed to you because you have a cold. Do you take the medicine?
Of course. I don't want to be sick anymore.
Correct.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Right. We all know all medication is poison. That's
correct. There's always side
yes,
effects.
Yes,
what they are,
yes.
You know what?
Yeah.
They don't even know. Of course they don't know. They don't know side effects about anything. They only hypothesize based on their research what they think the side effects are. But it's just risk versus benefit,
So,
and that's what I say to patients that are questioning, I don't know if I want the contrast. And it depends on what they're there for. And I look at it and I'm honest with them. And a lot of people come to me and they're like, I really don't know if I want this, blah, 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 blah. And I say, listen, my experience, because I'm not a doctor, so I can't.
Right.
I can't talk about, what I've learned. I can only talk about what the patient experiences.
Sure.
And I'll just say, chances are you're probably going to have to come back anyways because you're not going to get the diagnosis. That's what patients want to hear, honesty.
Yeah.
They want to hear truth.
Right.
They don't want to hear, you should get it because your doctor prescribed it for you.
Right.
No.
Right. Well, because obviously, if I'm voicing concern, I'm concerned. I'm saying, hey, I'm not so sure if I want to put this in my body. Please make me feel better about it. Right.
Correct.
And in a situation, I guess, like what you're saying is, well, based on what I'm reading here, like it's probably a good idea. Or in this case, hey, maybe the next time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially if you're coming back, right? Because now you got it now, and then you're coming back and having it again. What movie? What actor was it? Is there an actor? Oh, I wish.
Yes, Chuck Norris.
That's it, Chuck Norris.
And his wife supposedly
was
almost going to die from gadolinium injection, which is not even possible in all the research that they've ever formed on gadolinium.
Yeah.
But it potentially can adhere to kidneys
but they
organs
swear by it. They swear by it. They're saying that she has so much of it in her. There's no proof of it. I'm just...
There's because it supposedly does really leave your system within 72 hours.
Yeah.
But it also depends on diet and other existing factors.
But what a weird thing. Like,
and I was in the crux of my career at that point when that came out, doing MRI. And everyone's like, well, I don't want to be like Chuck Norris's wife. I'm not having it. I'm like, okay. Like, I'm not going to fight you. Like, if you don't want to have it, you don't want to have it. I'm not going to, but I also don't think you're going to be able to get the diagnosis that
and also she's going like every 2 weeks, right? And they're injecting her with this stuff like every 2 weeks. So it was some ridiculous amount of...
Yeah.
Right?
With the formulas that have come out now are a lot safer than they used to be. And, even the agents that we use now, we use half the dose of what we used before. Yeah. So you're injecting a lot less into the patient, which in theory is a good thing.
So is there a difference in drinking something as opposed to injecting it?
100%.
Okay. So one being like a digestive scan.
Exactly. Yep. So when you drink it orally, it has to do with your digestive tract. They look at your esophagus. Maybe people have trouble swallowing, trouble eating, food getting stuck, something like that. So
Obstruction.
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
So they would want to do a barium swallow type of deal where you drink something orally.
Okay.
But then they usually always do contrast with that too, IV contrast.
Okay.
Like we do. We do an oral drink and then we also do IV contrast. But the oral drink helps highlight the bowel in the way that we want to look at it. And then the IV contrast helps enhance everything else around it. So it's like a double-edged sword. And there's no real risk involved with the oral contrast that we use because there's no iodine in it. It's mostly water-based.
See, people don't know that. People
they
don't know
don't.
that. Yeah, people don't know
They
that.
think it's all about like CAT scan. CAT scan is far worse for you than any MRI you could ever possibly have. Just because it's radiation.
Sure.
And, one CAT scan is, I don't even know how much hours in the sun, but it's quite a bit.
Right, and its purpose, right? Its purpose is different than MRI.
Exactly.
Would you recommend, so I'll ask you, would you recommend having an MRI or going for a colonoscopy? Or would you say that one has nothing to do with the other?
One doesn't have anything to do with the other.
So you couldn't diagnose just as good with a MRI as you could with a colonoscopy?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not that type not that type. You could get close. You could have an idea.
Yeah.
But I am a big proponent of general screening and getting routine screenings done and stuff like that. So I think it's necessary. I mean, I think the tools that we have now, not everyone has to have a colonoscopy. You can do the Cologuard at home, and it's much more convenient and less of a hassle for people, right?
Sure.
But there's some people, especially, me with my family history,
Yeah,
that I have to have it, you know?
Right.
So I'm a big proponent of it because it really does help, prevent diseases and help people get ahead of the curve instead of behind the curve.
So what age should people just go? Just go. Don't wait. Do it. Do it when you're this age.
Well, I think it also depends on family history. If you have a family history, like they started me at 18 because of my family history. But I mean, if you have no family history, no prereqs, you don't have any symptoms or anything like that, 30. And that's just, you could go and get it whenever you want. But I think the national
most men won't. Most men won't do. I mean, maybe women are better at it than men, but most men won't do it. Most men only go when their doctor says, "Hey, listen,
you gotta go.
It's a good idea if you go, just go do this."
Right.
Not to be gross. Hey, you got blood in your stool, bro. You need to get a colonoscopy. That's what it takes for men to really realize. And that's only why I'm bringing this up, because it's so important. The demographic of the show, 23 to 65, listen to the show. And these are the people that I'm talking to. These are the men that I'm talking to. And I'm saying, hey, listen, don't wait for something critical to happen before you decide to go in and have something that is fairly simple. Like it's a fairly simple process, but obviously nobody wants to do that. You know what I mean? So, I always try to, if I can encourage people to do that, to your point, like get the screening done.
Just get the screening done.
Just get the screening done.
There's no harm.
No.
There's no harm. Just get it done.
I have a buddy of mine, no screening, no doctors, nothing. Guy had a stroke.
And not to say if he did have the screenings that he still wouldn't have had the stroke.
It's a good chance he might have found something like AFib, something like found something to be like, hey, and just don't wait until your face is drooping to be like, okay, I'm gonna go see a doctor now.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. Wow. Some people are ignorant and they just don't want to know what's going on with them, and they don't want to. They don't want to do anything.
No, they don't.
They just want to live their life, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with
that.
No,
but you got to take care of yourself. For yourself. Like people are like, oh, I do it for my family. No, do it for you. Like you got to take care of yourself.
The only person you can control is you. The only actions that you can control, the only personalities that you can win over is yourself. And that took me a long time. I'm still learning that. Took me a long time. But I'm just finishing Mel Robbins' book of the Let Them Theory.
Okay.
It is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And it really just opens up my mind in a different way than I thought of before. And that's the biggest thing, is that you control your thoughts, your actions, and the way that you respond to other people. You don't like the way someone does something? Who cares? Let them. Let them be. Let them do what they want to do. You control what you respond to that and how you respond to that. If they don't want to do something, oh well, just let it be. Easier said than done, but
you can only guide them. You can only guide them. And I always say, you want to come along, come along. You don't want to come along, there's someone else that wants to come along. Just let it be. So the fun part, I want to ask you some questions.
Okay.
So you've been scanning for a long time. Mm-hmm. What's the craziest shit you've ever seen? Like,
craziest thing. Well, I had a patient try to crawl out of the magnet.
Oh.
That was highly claustrophobic.
Okay. All right.
So that's probably my craziest patient experience. And they actually were having a seizure. That's why they were crawling out of the magnet. They were in the process of having a seizure. And I was a very young tech at the time.
Do you think it was them? Like, do you think they got themselves so worked up that they no kidding?
Yeah. And we were scanning their brain, and they literally just slid themselves out, and they were seizing on the table. And obviously, I had to stop everything, call code, and all of that. And it was scary. It was very scary.
Because it's funny because I'm exposed to it, and it's funny how people refuse to take like body piercings off. Like, I just don't understand why people would not want to just. If I said to you, hey, listen, there's a chance this thing's gonna get sucked into a magnet, I'd be like, well, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go take this thing off. And it's funny how people are resistant to that.
Right. But it's honestly, it's less about what could be sucked in as how it can heat up in your body.
Oh, that's a good point.
That is the reason why we do it is because we don't want it heating up in your body. Yeah. Because MRI uses the hydrogen protons in your body.
See, I don't think people know that.
To help create heat.
Yeah. That's
why every time you have an MRI, you come out and you're warm. Because it helps heat. It helps use your body and heat to help create the images.
Just correct me if I'm wrong. It brings the water droplets to an up position, right? Does
Correct.
it not change? It changes.
It does flip your protons, sometimes in 180 or 360, depending on how we're prescribing our images.
That's amazing.
So that's why also sometimes you feel like you're disoriented a little bit when you get out. Yeah. And you're like, you get like the starry glaze and the ostelites, and you see things. And, that's the photophosphenes. That's what it's called.
Do you think people realize the magnetic field that's generated around them? Do you think anybody...
I think some people are much more affected by it than others. It just depends on their body and their body chemistry and, how they're made up.
That's pretty cool. I never even thought of that.
And honestly, the heavier you are, the more you're going to sweat. Because there's more fat and tissue for it to go through to help create.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is. But that's the biggest concern with MRI is heating and burns. You see people...
So it's why you're not wearing jeans, right? Don't wear jeans, got metal buttons, right?
Correct. But you don't want to wear any clothing that has metal in it. And every clothing has metal in it now. That's why we have everybody change. Yeah. Because it's for their safety. It's not that we want to be a pain and, make you get naked. But you have to wear 100% all cotton. And we can guarantee that the clothes that we're giving you are 100% all cotton. Nothing that you can buy in the stores nowadays is truly 100% all cotton. There may be some stores, but... the general population is not going to go to that fancy store that only has 100% cotton.
Right.
They're not going to do that.
Yeah. So. Yeah, they're showing up in their joggers and their...
Well, that's what happened, and that's how it all started with the MRI movement with that, is that people were wearing Lululemon pants in there, and they were getting burned, and they didn't know why. And it's because they have metallic fibers in there that wick the sweat away, because they're workout clothes, and they don't want you to sweat in it, so they put metallic fibers in there to help wick the sweat.
Well, so much for social media. I'm going for an MRI today. Look at my Lululemons.
Yeah, no, it's all,
5 years from now, are you still doing this?
I hope so.
Yeah? What would be next for you?
I want to climb the ladder in management. I want to get out of middle management and get up to upper management a little bit, be a director.
So further from the scanner and more into people and leading people and creating teams and building teams? As
much as that pains me because I love my patients.
Yep.
It's what I think I can make more of an impact in doing than scanning. I do like it, but I want to be on that forefront of making changes and growing the company and help growing the company and see what I can do in that.
And how would you per se you're going to do that? Is it the experience? Is it the patient experience?
Yes, but
because what can you change? Like right now, when you think of the process of what you're doing right now, what is it you can change? Because the machine can only go so fast. Like you book and schedule the machine, that's out of your control, right? That's somebody else. What are you going to do different to make that experience?
I want the patient experience to be a little bit better. I want when people walk in to have a more, not to have to do so much, basically, to get in the door, right? You fill out all your paperwork online, that's normal. But the people that don't and they're not technologically advanced, it's hard for them. So I want a different avenue for them to be able to, get in and do what they need to do.
Yeah.
I
I think that whole self-checking kiosk thing was a terrible idea. I'm just going to go on record.
Terrible.
To me, and I still deal with that. Like if you go to Quest or go get blood work done,
it's all there. There's
it's that
no one
self-check-in
there.
thing. I think that's so informal. I don't like it. I love to walk into a place and be like, "Hi, this is my name, and I have a question." You know what I mean? And have somebody that's going to answer.
What I'd like to see is that you get a QR code, right? You fill out your thing online, and you get a QR code, and you have it on your phone, and you walk in. You're greeted by the person. They scan your QR code.
All your information pops up.
All the information pops up.
Perfect.
Everything. You do everything ahead of time.
Perfect.
Less hassle for the patient. Less hassle for us. And
less error. There's less room for error.
Exactly.
Right.
But let the patient take all the responsibility for all the questions. Let them sign the consent form. We've already started to do that a little bit, but I want more to be on the patient. Because if they don't tell us about something, it shouldn't be our fault if we're asking them about it 15 different ways.
Right.
There's only so much we can do as humans, right?
Right.
And granted, people forget what they have in their bodies and whatnot, but the patient themselves have to hold some responsibility to the information that they provide to healthcare providers.
Yeah. I think for me, what bothers me the most is how open everything is. I know once we click a door, beep, we walk to another door, we can have conversations and not everybody's privy to that information. But when you walk into the door and the first thing you walk in, people are like, "Hi, can I help you?" And right away, what's your name? You give your name and then what's your date of birth? And from that moment, from that DOB question, I become uncomfortable. It's like I almost want to walk out of the room because I don't want to hear what your date of birth is. I don't want to hear what your diagnosis is. I don't want to hear
that you have a payment.
Yeah,
or that, whatever.
Exactly. It's none of my business. And I just wish that we could find a way. I don't know how you would do that, right? Because if you want to order a burger from McDonald's, you got to walk up to the counter and you got to ask for it, right? So, but how do you make that a private experience? Because and I think of one location where we both work at, but I also think of other locations where, because I go to all of them, I see all these locations, and there are certain places like a hospital environment. Let's just say I don't even want to say the name of the place, but like a hospital environment where Zone 3. And Zone 1 share the same space. There's no door. There's no door. The only door between it is a scan room door. And so patients have to walk by that scan room door to get to the changing room.
Oh, that's dangerous.
People are being checked in and the scan room door is like, so not to be like, hey, but I'm saying situations like that, to me, the biggest concern is the sharing of information. Like
That's why with a QR code, you don't have to give out your information. Your information's right there.
Right. Or QR code. Do you have a license and your insurance card, please? Sure. Right. You hand those two pieces of.
That's how it used to be.
You shouldn't need any more information than that. You have my license and the QR code, right? You shouldn't need any more information.
Even right now, we should ask for a license. We're supposed to be.
Agreed.
And you shouldn't ask their name.
Right.
Say, can I have your license?
Yes.
Give it more privacy.
Yes. Do you have a license? All that information, the address is there. And so to me, that would be the low-hanging fruit. You know what I mean? So when you go on your adventure as a leader moving forward, that I'll give that one to you. You can have it.
Yeah.
Put that on your list.
Yeah.
Nicole, to me, it's easy.
It,
it's easy. I see you in your environment. Yeah. I see you interacting with the people you work with every day. And I'll tell you, this is my passion, being here, talking to you. This is what I love to do. But the other side of my life, and that's a passion of mine too, because I have this insatiable need to find solutions to problems. And I have this fix. Like the adrenaline for me is finding solutions. And not only that, but realizing that when there are times of despair, that I'm sometimes people's first thought. People they want to call me because they feel like I might have a solution. And to me, that's purpose. That's my purpose. But with that said, I see you in that environment and I see you working, and I'm the guy behind the curtain that nobody knows is there, and I hear these conversations, and I just want to say that the reason you're here was because of the amount of respect that I have for you and what you do. I see you as a young leader. I see this amazing potential. I see that you have drive, you have passion, and excuse me saying so, but you give a fuck. You care. and that's just, look, there's no other way for me to say that. And you see it in your passion. You see how careful you are, the way you manage our patients. And I'm grateful for that. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to say that to you and say thank you for coming on the show and sharing this experience with me. And just, you know what? A lot of people are going to listen to this, probably a lot of people that we know on the other side. And I don't know that they know all this about you because I didn't know all this about you, but I'm not surprised by any of it. You know, to me, I see what the woman that you've become from your experience in your life. And
Absolutely.
I'm just proud to call you my friend. And I hope that we could do this again.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
maybe next time you come in, we're talking about this amazing event that you're having coming up with the Choral Club. And maybe, hey, you know, maybe we bring some of them in. Maybe we sit down. Maybe we, right? Because, I mean,
I'd love to do a little performance.
I would love that. That's kind of going there with that. And
yes,
so
I would love to do that.
Really?
That would be absolutely something I would love to do.
You available June 14th? You think you could get a group of people together? I'm actually sponsoring a huge event.
You are
in the city, at the Cultural Club, and I think maybe you know what? How about after the show we talk about it, and that way we don't let anything out of the cat out of the bag, and then we can, right? So if just one more time, this event's coming up. Is
Mother's Day next Sunday, May 11th, 4:00 in the afternoon at St. Mary's of the Hills Church. And you can look anything up on QuincyChoralSociety.org.
Awesome.
Look us up on Facebook, Quincy Choral Society. Google us. You'll pop right up.
That's amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much, Nicole. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Bobby. Thanks, you too.
Thank you. And thank you for joining the show today, everybody. I really appreciate it. If you don't mind, go over and follow, and subscribe to the show. It's the only way the show gets momentum. Appreciate you. I appreciate you being here. And remember, always remember that all roads lead here.
Perfect.